So today we are going to be talking about how to repurpose your everyday content for your book and vice versa, also known as how to not need extra time in your day to write your book, because this is the objection I get all the time. And can I tell you, it is frustrating, not just for me, but probably for you. So if you're jumping on, say hello, give me an emoji, tell me where you're from. Please don't make me jealous if you're too warm and sunny, but let me know that you're here so that I know that people are watching. And if you have questions along the way, also type those in and help me out when I ask questions. So one of the things that people tell me all the time is, I'll write my book later. When? Life is perfect, when I have time, when my business slows down, when my business ramps up, when I have more clients, when, blah, 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 blah. Now, here is the thing. There is a better time to write your book than others in your business if you're writing a book that you want to actually grow your following to then get you clients. Now, I've talked about this in the last week quite a few times now, but I'm going to put in a little reminder just in case, because I don't assume that everybody has seen everything that I've put out there, although that would be super, super nice. So, when is the best time to actually write your book? Well, first you need to, in your business, have your mission, your message, your purpose all figured out. Now, I'm not saying that you can't evolve, because we all evolve in our business every single year. No matter how successful you've become, no matter how many years you've been in business, you just evolve every year, right? Because we are creatures of growth, and without that, we're not growing. So we evolve, and that's okay. However, you really need to make sure that you know what you want your business to stand for. What do you want the sign above your door to say? And I'm not saying like owner, CEO, or stuff like that. Like, what is it that you want it to say? Mine says the words lady. Mine says I take you from blank page to bestseller and beyond. These are messages and missions in my work. I also have the mission of wanting people to live no regrets. I want them to make sure that they are living to their potentials. I want you to make sure that at the end of your life, you don't turn around and say, oh, I wish I would have written that book. Oh, I wish I would have gone after my passion. I wish I would have blah, blah, blah. Because I've been there with my illness and everything. There were times in my life where I thought there was nothing left. And looking back, if that was all that I had to experience in life, I missed out. And I don't want anybody to feel that way about anything that they're doing in their business, in their life either. So that's part of my message. Part of my message is stepping up to that calling of passion and purpose in your life, sharing your story, sharing that message around the world to help people to get through their struggles, to make a worldwide impact. Those are all parts of my message and purpose in my business. And you need to get clear about yours too. If you have something, if you can type it in, let me know. Let me make sure I'm live streaming because I don't see much going on. Make sure that you know what it is that you want to stand for. And then in the comments below, tell me what that is that you would like people to remember you for, people to know you for, people to say, oh yeah, so-and-so does such and such, just purely by looking at your face, right? So, hold on a second. Oh boy, hold on a second. Sorry for the little interruption here. I had somebody I think might have been joining the group because they wanted to see this, so I had to approve that. So anyways, make sure that that is first in line in your messaging for your business before you write your book. Because if you want your book to actually attract those same people, it has to attract the same type of reader as that person that you're describing as your target audience, right? And then you also want to make sure that you have your signature product or package in place so that you can actually get a return on investment for writing your book. So many people have probably said, not just to me, but to their friends or whatever, yeah, so-and-so has a book, it's not doing anything for them. So, when I write mine, I realize that it's not going to do much for my business, so I can just put it off for later. But if you really had a return on investment on that book and you knew you were missing out on clients and upsold packages and high-level one-on-one clients, wouldn't it then give you that much more oomph to say, you know what, I really got to get this done because I'm missing out? The sad part of it is that, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule and everything else, and I would actually say it's probably even fewer with books, right? Maybe it's more like 90-10 instead, that there are books out there that aren't doing anything to help anybody because nobody knows about them. So you have to make sure that your book is going to be something that's going to upsell into that signature product so that you can get that ROI. Hopefully I'm making sense. So say yes if you're watching the replay, let me know that you're following along. And then I also would recommend having some sort of opt-in freebie, something or other where you can collect emails, because that's instrumental when you are using your book as well so that you can grow that following. Okay, so once you have all that, now you're thinking, well, gosh, it's time for me to write my book. I don't know when I'm going to find the time. I have to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this. And maybe your business is starting to really ramp up, and you're selling a lot of those signature packages, and that's fantastic. But you're thinking, how do I get to the next level? This is where your book comes in. And you don't need to feel like you have to get all new content. I'm always saying repurpose, 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 repurpose. Just like I say, poll your people, know your target audience, ask them before you do. You can do the same with your book. Ask them what they want in the book. Ask them what types of things that they're struggling with that you could help with. Some things might be so obvious to you that you don't include it in your book that somebody might actually need, right? So how do you actually repurpose content that you have, right? So every day we're on social media, we're online marketers. Whether you're in business to be a marketer or not, you are a marketer. You are selling your services, you're selling yourself, you're selling whatever it is that your one-on-one coaching is about, right? So I know that most of us did not get into business to be marketers or salespeople, right? You just want to help people, and I totally get that. So use the content that you're putting out on social media. I put out book tips every Tuesday. I could probably take all the book tip Tuesdays together after a while and compose all of those things into a really, really nice book. I don't even have to write anything. It's already written. So you understand what I'm saying about repurposing your day-to-day content? There's stuff that you're giving people every single day, and they can be stories, they can be value tips, they can be aha moments, they can be all sorts of things. And all you have to do is take and chunk them out. Now, you might have heard me tell you this before about chunking out your book. Now, if you're more of a linear type of person, you'll understand what I'm saying. We can do it in a visual way as well. When you figure out what you want your topic to be on your book, you take it and you chunk it out into 10 things under this bigger umbrella, right? And under those 10 things, you're going to have 3 to 5 points. So pretty easy if you think about it that way. I'm sure there's a lot that you can talk about and a lot that you can chunk out. Once you do that, right, you got 10 things, 3 to 5 things. So you're talking about 30 to 50 points you're making within your book. And all you have to do is write a little blog post about each one. Think about all the content. Like if you wrote your book in this way, you would have content for at least 50 days. And what happens after that? You just repeat the content over again, or you repurpose it in a slightly different way, or you say it with a different angle. So now you have all the content that you need to put out to social media, do your videos and stuff like that, and you've written your book, right? So you can do it one direction or the other direction, right? So you take the content that you have, figured out which things fall into what theme that you're doing, and then you chunk those up into those chapters, right? Those 3 to 5 points each chapter, and your book is done. Or you write your book and all of a sudden you have all the content that you need to put out into the world. Yes? Now, if you're more of a visual person, you can actually do it more like a mind mapping type of thing, right? Where you have your main topic in the center and you put little spokes out. And each of those spokes are those 10 things that I was talking about. And out of those spokes, maybe you put 3 to 5 other spokes coming out of that, right? And now you've got a graphical picture of all the things that you want to write about in your book. And you see how this should not actually take you extra time in your day to write your book then. You are repurposing, you're using 2 things for the same thing, and don't worry about like feeling like you're gonna be repeating yourself or somebody's gonna, like seriously, if somebody went back and read all 50 of your day's posts, which generally doesn't happen because Facebook doesn't push all your posts out to people like that. But even if they did read them one by one every single day for 50 days, they're still not going to be bored if you put it all in your book. Because I would imagine that when you put these things into your book, other stories are going to come to mind, client testimonials are going to, like other things are going to come to mind that you can add into the book. Okay? Makes sense? So I want to go through a couple shortcut ways that you can actually get this book done. I had a PDF that I put out a little while ago. It was a little freebie that I actually don't offer anymore. It was called 5 Sneaky Strategies to Writing Your Book Quick. And yes, I know that's grammatically incorrect, and that's all right. So let's go through some of those things. So we were just talking about posting discussions and questions and things that you could put in social media. You could alternatively, and this goes back to all the polls that I keep telling people to do, you could do surveys and compile data. Like, people love data. And when you have research in your book, it really lends to being even more of a credible source. When you have said, you know, I polled 300 people, or I polled 1,000 people, or however big your audience is, even if you polled only 30 or 50 people, that is okay as well. You can always say, I polled my closest friends and they said blah, 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 right? So one of the ways that you could do is like post the discussion and questions, and then the layout of your book could actually be purely question, topic, answer, right? I have a friend who is a relationship coach, and she's constantly asking questions about, how do you feel about this or that? Like, would you, I don't know, still be friends with your ex? That's the only thing that's coming to mind. She has much better questions than that though. But I had said to her at one time, you know, you could easily have a book of question and answer. Here's the question, here's the answer from, you know, the top answers from the group, because she gets so many responses, it's ridiculous. And then she could have like and here's the pro answer to that. And voila, her book would be done, right? So that's one thing that you could do. The other thing you can do is gather a bunch of your short stories. I'm sure you've shared many of these through your emails, your social media posts, even with your friends. Like, what are the stories that you would say over and over again? So for example, if you were to be a speaker and you had stories that were in your life that you would, you know, say over and over again, let's say, which stories would those be? It's kind of like, you know, musicians, popular musicians who have things out there, and they're constantly requested to sing the same song over and over and over again. Every audience, right? They want that song repeated. So don't feel bad about if you're repeating something. Just think about that. When I see my favorite speakers on stage, a lot of times I know their story just as well as they know their story. And I've heard it before. It is always fun to hear it again. So your book could be a series of stories that have been important to you, the value and tips that you have from there. So you could just purely have a bunch of short stories for your book. In fact, when I put together my anthologies, I ask other people to contribute to the book, and I share their stories. So it could be a bunch of your short stories plus a bunch of other people's short stories, right? The other thing, so this is a third idea now to get your stuff out quickly, your book written quickly. You can go back and look over your PDFs, your templates, your webinars, your 3-part video series, like anything that you've put out, because if you've been in business for any length of time, you've probably put together some of these things. And maybe some of those things you thought were duds and you never put them out, you could actually use them in your book. Of course, if they're really duds, you don't want to put them in there, but you know what I mean, right? So you could do that. You could also get any of your videos, transcribed, and then put that into your book as well. And then it'd be a series of, you know, PDFs and templates. That would be a series of teaching tools that people could have, right? Another thing, the last thing you could try doing is doing a bunch of interviews. One of the favorite books that I have ever read was Suzanne Summers' Toxic. And what she did was she conducted interviews with experts, and she asked doctors and, you know, all these other people who were experts in the health industry to help her with this book and ask questions. So she was the one just purely being curious and asking the questions that you and I would ask. And it was actually one of the best books I ever read because she nailed those questions I really wanted to know. And I learned so much. So you could do that. You could do a series of interviews with experts who complement what you do, create this book, right? And even if you have 0 interviews right now, what would happen if you just did a 20-minute, 30-minute interview with people once a week, twice a week? You know, even if you did it once a week, after 3 months, you'd have quite a few. In fact, I have quite a few from Tea Time Tuesday that I'm thinking I should transcribe those and put those into a book because there is good stuff in there. I'm telling you what. So see, you can do that, compile up everything. Make sure if you're going to do the interviews, of course, that they're themed the way you want the book to flow and they're on the topics that match together that are going to help your business grow and help turn your readers into clients. Because the bottom line is all these ideas that I've told you can create a book, but you want that book to create clients for you. So whatever's going to do that for you, use these shortcuts in that way. You can take all these things that I've said and actually combine them into a book as well. Do different things, different sections. You could have a couple chapters of just interviews. You could have chapters with stories. You could have chapters with worksheets, you know, things like that. There's all sorts of ways that you can actually repurpose and structure this book, right? The other thing that you could do is you could actually transcribe some of your coaching calls if you wanted to. Now that there is a little dangerous and you do have to ask permission, right? These are like case studies. And you can always tell your coaching clients that we're not going to use their actual names. And when you get them transcribed, obviously nobody's going to be able to hear their voice. So you can just transcribe them, change their names, and these could actually be really, really great teaching items for your readers, you know? So then the layout of the book ends up being a series of coaching sessions broken out by topic. Pretty cool, right? So lots of different ways that you can create your book really quickly, repurpose things that you already have or that you believe you're going to need later on for your business. And then, you know, you might only need a few extra things to like write in your book to transition from this or that, or add in a little few more insights or things that maybe you forgot to say in certain things, or elaborate more on things that you have put out there and repurposed, right? So when you do things in this way and you gather things all up and then you only have to write a few things to connect the pieces, you can write your book really, really quickly. And that is how to repurpose everyday content for your book and vice versa, the other way around, right? So a lot of times people kind of drag, right? But if you think about, if I write this book, I'm going to have content for the next 60 days, 90 days, whatever, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And oh my gosh, there is such a relief. And I kid you not that sometimes if I am at a loss for what I want to put out there, which is kind of rare, all I have to do is open up one of the books that I have already published, pick something off of there. I do also have a list of ideas that come to me that I just jot down as well whenever I'm at a loss for content. So see how you really don't need a lot of extra time in your day to write your book? All right, talk to you later. Bye.